Hello, and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN FM, where each week is a journey of discovery into the many facets of our connection to love, oneness, and the boundless human spirit. I'm Lisa LaRose, and I'm joined by my co-host, the incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to say welcome, Michael, and check in to see how you're doing.
Such a pleasure to be here. Yeah, it's an awesome day, awesome life. I'm just feeling on top of the world, as I always am. It's glorious to have another opportunity to chat this day with you, and we've got a great show going to go on. So without any ado, I want to turn it back over to you. Fabulous.
Okay. Today we're stepping into a truly magical space. So after last week's show, I had an opportunity to support a friend of mine who was doing an event in Ohio. And we finished a little bit late, and when I looked at the clock, I thought, geez, I don't know if I want to go, because I had an hour and 20-minute drive. But I thought, you know what, I really need to make the effort. And boy, oh boy, am I glad I did, because, you know, what I love about being on the spiritual path are these little breadcrumbs spirit leaves. They're the signs, symbols, moments of resonance, all pointing the way. And that is how I met our very special guest. She is such a beautiful, luminous soul. Her name is Donna Bell, or Donna Gems, as she's affectionately known. Donna is a gifted psychic medium and is a compassionate guide who works intimately with the Ascended Master, the Angelic Realm, and also the profound wisdom of the Mineral Kingdom. She is a renowned Reiki master, a minister, a crystal healer, and she helps us all reconnect with the essence of loving kindness, not just in our hearts, but in every energetic fiber of our being. So welcome to Connect to Love, Donna. It's such an honor to be able to have you join us.
Oh, thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. I am so happy to be here, and it's been so nice getting to know you and Michael.
Thank you. And us, you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And both Michael and I had an opportunity to have a reading with Donna. I was guided to her table at the event, and when I came back, I shared with Michael, I'm like, you would not believe I met the most amazing woman. And just within a week's time, your essence of loving kindness just fills both of our hearts. And I'm just so excited that you're joining us. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a few things about your journey and what brought you into the path that you're on now.
Oh, sure. So as a child, it was evident to my parents that I was, and an aunt especially, a great aunt, that I was a little different. But mostly our family was considered a little different by our friends in a good way. But I would have a sense of other people's discomfort. Like I would tell my mother, you know, when I was maybe 4 or 5, does your leg hurt? Do you want me to rub your leg? I could rub your leg. You want me to get you something to put on your leg? And she would say, why do you think my leg hurts? And I would just kind of look like, I don't know. It just seems to me, you know. And so the fortunate part of that is that I grew up with parents and a family who are also gifted and non-judgmental. And so my siblings would not necessarily say that they're gifted. Some of them will outright deny it as I watch them use gifts. But that aside, I grew up in an atmosphere where that was nurtured. And I know a lot of people who grew up who were exhibiting gifts and they were suppressed, or they were kind of told, don't say that, don't talk about that, don't do that. My mother was very gifted, and she really couldn't suppress it. And so as I got older, I would be drawn to, I remember going to my first psychic fair. I might have been like 16. And I came home and I was telling my parents, like, and she said this, and then she said that. And my father looked at me. He said, you paid somebody to tell you that? And I said, well, yes. And so he was like, we could have just told you that, you know. And so it was considered along the lines of what most people would call mother wit. A lot of people, depending on your culture, may grow up and people talk about their dreams. And depending on how accepting your environment is, that may be something you can expound on. Well, you know, especially if you're talking about visitation of a dead relative or an ancestor, then that may be discussed. What did they say? Are they okay? That type of thing. And so I kind of grew up hearing that around me. And so it didn't frighten me when I began to be able to kind of sense and sometimes just outright know if the phone rang and I would just say, oh, poor Aunt so-and-so passed. Oh. And my mother said, why would you say that? And I said, and sometimes I would realize I said it and sometimes I wouldn't. And so from there, I would start attending anything that drew my attention. And back then, bookstores that sold information dealing with the occult or esoteric information were kind of few and far between, and it was not very out in the open, so to speak. And you had to go to a special place. Now you can go to a library. You can go online and order books and that type of thing, and that wasn't always the case. And so if I could find a lecture or a talk at a bookstore or sometimes even a library, or usually it was someone's home, who was maybe a practicing astrologer, would have somebody come in and they'd set up chairs in their yard and you could hear a lecture, that type of thing. And I'm going back into like the late 70s, 80s, that time period. And so I did that any kind of way that I could to kind of get information, knowledge, tools to help me work on my gifts because I knew I had them. I mean, it just was, no denying it. And so I went off to college, came back, and started working a traditional job, and then a friend introduced me to a psychic. And so she ran a seminary, and it was under the auspices of the Spiritualist Church. And so I joined there, and I studied there for years, and I never did complete my doctorate. I got all the way up to like halfway through my thesis, and it was like, yeah, I'm not going to get this done. And that was okay because that was in the cards. And so part of my time in seminary is where I learned how to do group messages, where you stand in front of a crowd and you pick out a person and you can give them a message on the spot. I learned how to develop my mediumship skills. I studied different modalities such as tarot. Even back then I was studying how crystals work and how to connect with your psychic abilities, how to tune in, how to do kinesiology, just pendulum work, just all kinds of different modalities. And that's when I started my travels. And so I had been ordained as a deacon at that time and certified through the state of Ohio as a spiritual healer. And that was another modality where I learned how to do energy work through the clearing of auras, laying on of hands, that type of thing. And so this is like the mid-90s, and we are traveling to sacred sites, and we are aligning them with our studies because the focus of it was biblical archaeology. And so we studied the Bible, and we studied sacred sites in the Bible and sites that were kind of connected to major events. Even if it wasn't in the Middle East, it might have been in South America. And so we just started traveling. And some of it was connected to past life work because what I discovered is that they were a soul group. We were part of a soul group that had been here many times doing soul group work as light workers. And so we were continuing that journey. And so I've been to, 10 or 15 places, some of them multiple times, like Hawaii and London and France, and just traveling all through those countrysides and several places in South America and Egypt and Israel and Lebanon, and I'm sure I'm missing something. But it entailed a lot of travel, and I would come back to work, and people would say, you on those vacations? And I'm like, it was not a vacation. Because you're doing energy work, and it's like, yeah, it was nice. You get some nice moments, but if we hit the ground on Saturday, we may have taken our first break maybe that Tuesday. And I'm like, we're not sightseeing. I have a ministry that we're doing, and at that time we were pursuing a leadership ministry, and we would meet with other spiritual groups in these different places, go to these sacred sites and walk the ground and do prayer, do ceremony, And so we were all about connecting like-minded communities who are here to help humanity. We were connecting with each other to help spread love and light throughout the world. So it was very fulfilling, and it was very demanding, but I absolutely loved it. And I just thought it was just a phenomenal part of my life. And so I moved on from that in 2011. I think the last trip I took may have been Peru with that group. May have been Peru, Machu Picchu, and sacred sites all throughout that area. And then, it was definitely a really wonderful time. You could feel the energy. You could feel the rise of people wanting to take control of their own destiny and saying, we know we have the power within us. We're not relying on anybody else to do it for us. We're going to form groups and come together and just pray for the earth, pray for the universe, pray for each other. We're going to instill a sense of it's okay to love one another. And then, it was amazing how we could just meet people. We would go there, and people would join our group as we were there. It was like, well, we're here to meet with this community. And they would say, but can we come with you? I'm here with my, there might be 2 or 3 people. And they would say, well, can we hang out with you at this site? And go, sure. And, our group of like 15 might swell to like 20 or so while we were there. And people would walk and they'd sing. And it was just really a beautiful time. And I think it was just all part of helping people who were already attuned to the change in energy, who didn't necessarily know why they were visiting those places. But for them to say, I can be a part of this because they get me, even if I don't get it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. They could feel the change in the energy, and they were going with their intuition. And then not knowing how they were impacting a universal scale event of spreading love throughout the universe and throughout the world.
Wow.
And so kind of grounded myself for a little while, and it was a lot of work because I had gathered so much energy and traveled so many places. I kind of settled down and did a lot of studies, local studies here. I got reattuned because I had gotten Reiki attuned in the mid-'90s, and I got reattuned in like 2015, and then I went on to get my Holy Fire Reiki attunement, and I became a registered reverend with the state in 2 different modalities. So I'm a Melchizedek priest, and I'm also a reverend under the Radiant Light Church. And so what did I do after that? So I had a few businesses, and it's usually collaborations with other people where we come together and we work to just be of service to other people. So it might be through physical healing, and we will combine modalities and work on a client. So I did that for a while, and then I started intensive crystal studies. And I went to a fair with 2 of my old business partners, and it's a really large event in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I said, the one thing I want to do, I feel like I want to go see this crystal lady talk. And so we were at another lecture, and we're leaving that room, and I said, I'll put that off. And I felt this thump on the back of my head. And I know as a psychic medium that was spirit saying, you're going to do what? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to this lecture. I'll catch up with you all later. And I go to the room, and then they come in a few minutes later and said, we felt the same thing, like we needed to be here. And it was one of the most phenomenal lectures that I have ever heard about crystals, energy, and how to use them in a whole different way. And it just, all 3 of us were just floored. And when it was over, we rushed the podium, and we were saying, do you have classes? How can we sign up? Are you doing session work here? Can we get a session? And so I ended up taking lessons from this instructor in Cincinnati for the next 3 years.
Wow.
And we would laugh.
Fantastic.
We brought it up one day, and we said, you had to think something was wrong with us, the way we rushed the stage. But we want to let you know we were genuinely excited and thrilled. And she said, I told my husband, we're closing the center after this weekend because we're not getting serious people. We're getting people who want to come in here and play with stones and play with the energy, but they're not taking it out into the world and helping others. So we're done. And she said, when you all rushed the podium, she said, all I could see was light coming towards me. And she said, they're the ones. They're the ones. So that type of an incident just reaffirms that when you walk in the light and you're trusting spirit, trusting your guides, they put you in the spot that is the best for you at that time. Mm-hmm. And so what I gained from it was an ability to use crystals to help people to balance their energy, clear their chakras, clear their aura, strengthen their aura, because she uses crystals as tools. And I was used to the passive way where you lay down and maybe put some crystals on your body and just kind of like, woosah for a while and then get up and go. And then she introduced me to this whole new modality that I've been doing now since 2017, where you use crystals on the energy body and physically interact with it. And it brings about just absolutely wonderful results. And so that was that phase. And so where are we at now? I was doing work as a healer. So I would do spiritual healing. I would do crystal healing. I could do Reiki, laying on of hands, all of those modalities. And one day after an event, I'm clearing my crystals and packing them away. I'm back at home. And I pick up a crystal to put it away, and it says, do you want to learn how to do readings with crystals? And I'm looking at the crystal, and I'm thinking, I said, I sure do. And they said, well, put me back on the table. So when I'm talking to people, like during messages or whatever, and I say, well, this crystal wants to come forward, that crystal really, for me, has said, I want to come forward, put me on the table. This is what I want to say. And so that was how I started, and that had to be 2019, 2020 maybe. And it's in the crystal, it was so clear that I said, oh, there's absolutely no doubt of what this crystal is saying. And I put it on the table, and we started working together and doing crystals. So I still do both. I do psychic medium work, where I interact with the crystal kingdom, and I interact with the Angelic Realm and the Ascended Masters. And I also do healing work using crystals and or just energy that flows through me from the Angelic Realm, Source Energy, the Reiki Realm, or Ascended Masters, and other. I do work with some universal beings from other dimensions, other planets.
Wow. I just wanted to say, Donna, it's truly probably the reason that I didn't get a thump on the head, but it was a definite you need to get to this event so that I could meet you. And when I walked in and I asked my friend Todd, I said, did you have a reading? And he said, yes, and he showed me. And I'm like, And I said, well, where do you go? And I walked over to where there was a whiteboard, and I looked, and the girl was telling me everybody that had available slots. And I said, that lady over there, I said, does she have anything available? And it was you, because I felt you. And I was so grateful because of the graciousness of the person. There was somebody that was actually signed up for a slot to have a reading with you. And the woman gave up her space. And so when I came over to you, and I thought it was just normal. I was watching you sort of arrange your table and move the crystals and the stones. And I didn't know your name. I didn't know anything about you because I hadn't seen the flyer. I just felt you. And what you shared with me and the crystals that communicated and the angels that came through, it was just amazing. And I felt how you bridged the different worlds. It's fantastic. It was the most unique reading I have ever had. And it makes so much sense that you are part of a soul group that helps humanity spread love and light, because you didn't know me either. You didn't know that each week, Michael and I joined together to speak about the boundless nature of unconditional love that transcends the physical form. And you are receiving messages and communicating with all of these different realms that we all have access to but don't always tune into. So I really want to thank you, because it's so magnificent how you sort of have gathered everything together and are helping all of humanity navigate this human journey. I just want to say thank you, because it really is so important. And I'm just curious, are there specific messages, loving messages that you've received over, and I'm sure there's a myriad of them, but that you've received from the other side, or the angelic realm, or the ascended masters, or the mineral kingdom, that really are poignant for this time for each of us to hear?
Yes, absolutely. And they reverberate over and over again. And I see them in general media. I see them, I might be in the grocery store and I'll hear somebody repeat some of them, and it may not be verbatim, but the same sentiment is there. And one is, as you said, unconditional love. Love is the highest power in the universe. And everyone is loved. Everyone is loved. No one is alone. You are not alone. Everyone is loved. And joy is your birthright. Joy is your birthright. And so I hear those a lot of the time, over and over, in different ways. And also peace. Choose peace. And that's kind of been my mantra for like 3 years, is to embody the vibration that I want to see in the world. Because you can't see it if you can't have it. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so
we talk about that. Yeah, we spend a lot of time encouraging our audience to basically, if they wanted to act with, to go within. If you want love, you want peace in the world, you have to generate it within yourself first and let it radiate out to the world. I think we say that just about every week, that everything begins within. We focus. We've been taught to focus on everything outside of us, and everything outside of us is just, it's a reflection of what's going on inside of us. And we want it all to change. And I loved that. That's the connection I drew between when you were speaking earlier about traveling the world and looking to transform energies and things of that nature, and some of these sacred sites. That is what we and many other messengers nowadays are starting to confer to the people who are following them, the people who are engaging with them. Is just that we need more love in the world, more unconditional love, more love without any strings attached, love without judgment. More of that, more acceptance of everything around you. Let people be who they are. Let them make choices for themselves instead of attempting to control them and get them to choose what you want them to choose. Or act the way that you want them to act. Nobody's going to learn if they're not understanding of the fact that the choices they're making are reflective of what's going on inside of them, and people just don't know this.
Yes, because we are coming out of the age where, for most Christian teachings, and even I would say a lot of the religious teachings, regardless of the faith, that you are part of a group of protected people because you believe X, Y, and Z. So for Christians, it's usually, you are my flock. And if one of the sheep goes astray, I will come and get that. I'll leave the flock, come and get the sheep that strayed and bring it back.
Yeah.
And that's the age that we're leaving.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So people are transitioning to, I am a drop in the ocean.
Right.
I am an individual and also part of a group, but I am responsible for my own choices. I am responsible for how I use my energy. So the crutch, so to speak, I don't want to call Yeshua a crutch, but where they could say, Jesus will come and get me and save me. And so for a certain vibration, that kind of help is still there and always will be. Nobody's abandoned. And also that type of fear comes in when people are given those choices to choose peace, to choose love. There's a fear associated with that. Like, well, I don't know what love is. I thought I was exhibiting love. If I'm seeing this and this is bad, then does that mean I'm bad? And it's like, no. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nobody gets left behind. That's part of the new energy. We're all community. The world is ascending, and everybody is ascending with it. We're just ascending at different rates.
Right.
But no one's getting left behind. That's and that helps some people to say, phew, because they're panicking. Like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
You're absolutely doing it right. Wherever you are, you're doing it right.
Yeah. The whole idea of duality right now needs to dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's lovely. That's very lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, Donna, and I'm really glad that you brought up Yeshua, because from my teaching that he is an ascended master, and there are many, as well as many angels in those realms. And since you work closely with both, I'm curious, how do these high vibrational beings offer us guidance to help us navigate this human journey? And if you wouldn't mind speaking a little bit about both, because I think a lot of times people think, well, the angels are only there for special occasions. I can only call on the Archangel Michael during this, but not recognizing that they are here for us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. All the time.
They're omnipresent.
And so did you say omnipresent?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Michael said that,
Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought I heard, because that's what I was hearing, is they were saying, let them know we're omnipresent, which means they're with you all the time. And the special occasion is because you're here. You're special because you're here. Everybody is special. There's no judgment from the other side. Now, when I'm speaking of the other side, I'm not speaking about your lovely aunt who may have just crossed over, or your friend who passed several years ago. I'm speaking because I deal with the Ascended Masters and the Angelic Realm. So I may get archangels.
Right.
And it's not like they just show up. There is a process that I use, and everybody has a group of angels that walks with them. Now, we call them angels. They may be ascended masters, archangels, or saints. And so an ascended master, in my belief system, is someone who used to walk the earth, and such as Buddha, Jesus. And they have crossed over into spirit, and they still work with, I want to say, universal source energy, because they're not just working with earth. But let's just say earth for conversation. So Jesus ascended. He came back and he let that be known that he had crossed, and he was showing his mastership of the transformation. Right. He is known as Yeshua, and that's part of his ascension. Another level of his ascension is Sananda, which is the ascension of Yeshua. So even in spirit, as we would say, there is still work to do if you so choose, because everything's a choice. and he is still ascending in his power, in his mastership.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we say that no one is alone, that means that there is always energy here in the form of an ascended master or an archangel. And it may be a relative, but you come here, when you incarnate with a soul group. And that soul group of angels is here to help you through life. And you all chose each other before you incarnated. And that's according to my belief system, is that you have any bevy of angels that are walking with you and helping you with life's choices. And that's where psychic mediums, tarot card readers, people who deal with energy, regardless of what modality they use, they're here to help you to understand when you kind of get stuck, like, I don't know what this is that's going on, but something's going on. I need someone to, to help me understand this. And that's where someone like me or someone like you two comes in to help people to pull apart that information so they can make sense of it.
Beautiful. Wonderfully said.
It is.
Very, very clear, too. I mean, it's easy to understand when you put it that way. Quite so. And it kind of crisscrosses with some of the things that I have read and been exposed to over the last 40 years as well. So let me ask you, was there, you had mentioned before we came on and went live that some non-physical beings, archangels, angels, or ascended masters had an interest in, knew you were going to be doing this with us on our show with the two of us. So do they actually want to let our audience know something specific?
Well, the specific thing that they did want to have come through was about unconditional love, because you have to remember, with you two being sensitive, you get inspired. And so they don't need to take credit and say, well, I gave them that idea, or I asked her to say that and she did. You know what I'm saying?
Sort of like the word omnipresent.
Is about,
Sort of
we give them credit all the time, right? We get done with the show. Yeah, we get done with the show, and we are like, where did that come from? Thank God, it was our guides.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. We're so grateful. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So, but they do want to emphasize that non-judgment, because when we judge, and that's something, I don't care which faith you may follow, it always speaks of being judgmental in some way, shape, or form. And so that type of energy not only affects the person you're judging, it affects you. It bogs you down. It's very heavy, dense energy. And so you can always say to yourself, because some people just do not believe in archangels or anything, and I've had them sit at my table and tell me, I don't believe in any of this. I said, then can you bridge this understanding with your higher self? Do you think there's a part of you that guides you? And if they can say, yeah, I think that I talk it out with myself. Okay, then let's deal with what your higher self is telling you that you're not paying attention to. And that's how you ended up at my table.
Wonderful.
And so then we'll talk it out from there, because there's no ego with the ascended masters. There's no ego with the archangels. They're just trying to help us to be in the best place for us.
Right.
So where I am may not be suitable for my neighbor across the street, and vice versa. And so they help us to be where we are choosing to be, because there is no woulda, coulda, shoulda with spirit. They're not. If you go to a reading and someone tells you you better do this, nope, cut and run. This is a free will world. You can choose to do what you want to do. Now, what spirit might do is say, Can we talk about that decision a little more? No, I don't want to talk about it. I really think I should put $10,000 into growing an ant farm. And they'll say, well, you might need to get a car soon, or how about like looking at purchasing something a little more stable? No, I really believe that, it's going to generate like X, Y, and Z. And they'll try and talk to you about it. They'll send people your way to give you some advice. They'll let it show up on TV shows and books you pick up. And if you're choosing that, they're going to let you go ahead because they do not interfere. And they do not tell you what to do. They advise you based on your desires in life. So if I say, I want to be a millionaire, but I keep going to the ice cream store and buying ice cream for everybody who's in line, my treat. And they'll say, okay, so let's talk about how you reach certain financial goals. And then I may see a TV show where there's a financier talking about how do you reach goals financially. And so I know they're trying to tell me, like, if you really want to hit that goal, then some things have to change. But if I choose to not change them, they're not going to stand in my way and make me do anything. Like, even when I'm giving messages, I might say, oh, yeah, I'm not telling them that. And they'll say, well, this is the information. And I was like, well, if you can't find a better way to give it, then I'm not giving that message. And I'll tell people, hold on just a second. And because I have a right, even as a psychic medium, I have the right to give a message, not give a message, or to accept a client, not accept a client, that type of thing. Now, they always find a way to deliver it. And sometimes it comes down to, if you still want to do this at this level, there are certain conversations that we're going to have to work with you on for you to deliver. And so I have to make a choice at that point that if I want to function as I am and to continue to grow in my gifts, then I'm going to have to bridge an area and say, okay, I'm able to do these types of messages, because that may be what comes with that territory.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I think all of your messages come from love. I feel that so much. And the reason Michael and I burst into laughter was because we did a show not that long ago on woulda, coulda, shoulda. And I said to him, would you mind if we do an episode on this topic? This is what I'm hearing in my head. And so we did the topic. And on last week's show, part of the thing that really just was jaw-dropping, Michael asked me, and I think this was his guide, he asked me about my healing process. And I explained about patterns and how I see them. And if I were to take a piece of yarn in his sweater and pull at it, and then the patterns would never be the same. And when I sat before you, you said to me, if I was wearing a beautiful blouse and you saw a string and I pulled at it and it would come out, and you said to me, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I was just prompted to speak about on the show. But the words that you said, and this is what really floored me, was that you said that string that I pulled out would weave into the tapestry of my life, and it my jaw dropped and my heart filled with so much joy, and I was like, oh, that's the key. That's the key. Those are the threads that we weave together. I just absolutely love that. So thank you for that confirmation. And also speaking to sovereignty, because I love the fact that you even within the angelic realm and the ascended master realm, you are still affirming your soul's sovereignty to say, you know what, I'm not ready to do that. I have to align my soul to what I feel is for my highest expression of yourself as Donna Gems in this world at this time. So
yeah. And I think part of that is what's difficult for people to adjust to is that they have the right to say no, because so much is dogma that says you better do this and you better do that, or else you're going to, go to this place where, it's like, no, your vibration takes you where you'll go when you transition. It's about your vibration. Yeah.
About your vibration.
Well, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, in terms of the height of that vibration, with regard to that, my question, it's interesting because I live in the South, and I just giggle sometimes when I see all the people around here who actually go follow dogmatic principles of religion, and the one that they invariably miss is the judgment, the non-judgment part. Right?
Yeah.
Where even you get three religions in the same room, and they're going to judge each other because you're not part of theirs. You don't believe what they believe specifically, because they all have different beliefs, different interpretations of biblical teachings and things of that nature. And the first thing that happens is that, you're not part of my group. It's pushing the separation. It's pushing the judgment. It's actually doing the opposite of what I have always felt that Jesus was about, which is love, unconditional love.
Yeah.
Non-judgmental, no hook, no line, no sinker, just love. Just basically that's what it is. Love everybody. We're all one. We're all drops. I started saying 40 years ago that we all come from the same well. We're just drops of water, and when we die, we go back to that well again. We have a soul group that helps us accomplish missions down here, helps us to ascend to new levels. We come here. Some come in physical form. Others are here to help us in non-physical form. However, no accidents, no coincidences. We're all where we're supposed to be at the time we're there. And if that's the place that helps us grow and ascend and transform and evolve, then that's so be it. We're all there, and the fear and the doubt that's drilled into people early on in their lifetimes, it never ceases to amaze me. It never really does. What I get from what you were saying at the beginning of this conversation is that we're moving past that. People are awakening to the fact that they are sovereign individuals. They're sovereign beings. They can make their own choices and decisions and choices about how they and all of those kind of help them ascend, help them accomplish their soul's, whatever their soul's missions are in their world and in this lifetime. And it's not all about the 3D stuff that's going on out there and getting all involved in the reality of other people's reality instead of their own. That something that we're going to see change or evolve, because there's a big train out there that is going in one direction. There's a lot of people riding it.
So when it comes to those types of world events, because I always have a question about it, like, how do you sit and watch these things go down and not get involved? And the answer I always get is, if you can do it from a place of peace, by all means, speak up. Because the way the energy works is, if I'm jumping in to be confrontational or to berate someone about their beliefs or berate someone about their actions, I am actually feeding that other side of the equation.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I've told people for years, you can say anything, absolutely anything to anyone with love, peace, and kindness. You can do it. You can make your point without being without.
You can get yourself to that point and stay there. So you have to hold that vibration.
Exactly.
And so you know how people use words like, they're trying to bait me. Absolutely. Water seeks its own level. I can't have you being all loving if I'm being all angry. I want you angry because I play that game, and I can beat you if I can get you down to my level. What did they used to say? If they go low, we go high. You go high, meaning take that vibration higher, and then, you can't see anything that you don't match a vibration with on some type of perspective.
Right.
And so the like people like you and me, and they say maybe 1% of the world who volunteer to come here to do light work in one way, shape, or form, we're here to emit that light or to ground the light into the earth so that it has its footing and it's solid and stable and spreads. And so that is what helps people who are on the train on a path that, seems to be, because the real answer is everything is in divine order. Mm-hmm. And I tell myself, if I'm being me and doing what I came here to do, then I don't have to worry about anything else, because I can only control my vibration. So I basically am telling myself, stay in my lane. How are you feeling about things? Are you feeling anxious? Take care of it. Are you feeling upbeat, positive, joyful, and loving? Oh, then I'm doing well.
Yeah.
And so
I agree. I have a question for you, Donna, and it occurred to me when you said something about the earth and how things are coming from the earth, because obviously the crystals come from the earth, and we have this access to this mineral kingdom, which things go through cycles, but everybody, it seems, is drawn to crystals. So are the crystals acting sort of as bridges and amplifiers of this divine energy in a way that can support people to draw them into a more loving, peaceful space? Are they helping to hold the frequency of that love vibration?
It's all of that. And I think that people are becoming re-aware, if that's a phrase or a word, re-aware of crystals. It's kind of like how plants were in the 70s when everybody was saying, I was talking to my plant just, as I was watering it, like, what's wrong? Oh, honey, I'm so sorry for you. And my plant perked up. And so people started incorporating plants everywhere in their homes, at their jobs. They were treating them as if they were sentient beings. And as we know now, yes, they are a living being.
They are.
And so that's the evolution for us. It's a remembrance for people who deal with the mineralogical kingdom or the crystal kingdom, that these are sentient energies that once activated, because sometimes you do have to activate them, because they've been in the earth for 10,000 years, 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years, and then you take them out and you transport them around the world and you sit it there and people go, my crystal doesn't do anything. It's like, yeah, you might need to wake your crystal up and let it know that you're ready to work with it. And so I teach that as well when I do lectures or talks. I teach people how to activate their crystal and how crystals work on the power of intention. And so let's say you're looking to create a more peaceful environment in your home. So crystals, like angels, everyone can do everything. Now, we like having angels that have specific duties, and we call on them. And I have a really wise friend, and she said years ago, she said, I don't want to be in a foxhole and try to remember an angel to call for a specific foxhole incident. I'm just calling on any angel, God, send me some help. And he'll send who's going to help me. And I've always remembered that. And so I've been in channeling circles because I do regular spiritual development work for myself. And they always say any crystal can do anything. Any angel can do anything. That's a human thing that says, I'll assign you as the angel of healing. I'll assign you as the angel. And they're like, yeah, okay, if that makes you comfortable, because they don't have an ego. It's like, any one of us can do what it is you need, but it's comforting, I think, for humans to be able to categorize it and give them certain abilities and attributes. But
we're
you
obsessed
can
with
most
separation.
Definitely, yes. But we're moving beyond that in greater numbers. And I know it may not look like it, but we are progressing. We are progressing.
No, that's wonderful to know. And I just want to give the audience your website if they want to learn a little bit more about you. It's easycrystalconnection.com. And again, it's easycrystalconnection.com. And I'm curious because this is my own, I'd love to take some classes from you and hear what's upcoming for you and different ways that we could learn more about these topics. And I'd absolutely love to have you back. I know Michael feels the same way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'd love to hear some more of what your, not only your services, but the other things that you offer, if you wouldn't mind sharing that.
Sure. So I speak to groups. I go to libraries, and I do lectures. If there's a fair, I'll do a lecture at the fair if I can get an opening, if there's a slot. And I always tell them at the beginning, hey, if there's a lecture period there, fill me in for an hour. And I talk to people about how to work with crystals. And if I get naysayers, that's fine, because that curiosity also opens people's minds. It expands their energy because they're questioning it. And hopefully they're taking some of that knowledge with them. But I teach people how to activate a crystal, how to imbue it with an intention, and that you can use crystals to help you with anything that's positive and uplifting. I have a crystal that I have attuned to help me to control clutter. And it sends off a vibration, and it's like, oh, yeah, pick that up off the floor. Don't put your socks over there. Put them right in the bin. I mean, it's an actual energy. And so awesome. I also will do talks on how to build your altar, the significance of the things you place on your altar, how to do rituals, how to build a personal ritual for yourself. And the purpose of these tools, which they're all spiritual tools, is to help you to stay aligned with yourself. I'm not trying to align you with anything else, but to turn that focus inward. Are you connecting with yourself? Are you checking in with yourself and asking yourself, how do I feel in this moment? And waiting for the answer. And then to be honest with yourself. And that's a process. And a lot of people do not like to have to say to themselves, I don't really feel that great right now. Not physically, but maybe emotionally. And so when people get a practice of a ritual or an altar with sacred objects, and it doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be a ton of things, it could be one or two things, and this signifies to you that I am going into my sacred space, and I'm going to spend time with myself, and I'm not setting any, like, I got a week to get this under control. No. But I think people are recognizing the importance of making themselves a priority. Because for so long it was always about others and others and others. Well, you can't keep pouring from the same jug. You have to fill the jug. And the way you do that is to connect with yourself, and then you connect with spirit. That's how you feel that belongingness. And it does not have a timeline on it. It does not. And it also helps you to not continually put pressure on yourself. And it also reveals that you are putting pressure on yourself, because a lot of people will come back and say, I didn't realize how much of my thought process dealt with, I need to get that done. I need to go do that. I was like, yeah, if you spend just 1 minute, start off with, can I sit for 1 minute and just breathe? I'm not trying to do a list in my head. If a list pops up in your head, then I'm going to say thank you and dismiss that thought. And so that leads into what else I do, which is help people to learn meditation, and that there's many forms of meditation. The wonderful thing about this ascension energy is that there really are no rules. It really isn't. If meditation for you is walking in the park, by all means, go walk in the park. Are you getting a sense that you are in a timeless state for just a minute? Then you're doing it. You're getting it done. Does sitting by water relax you? There you have it. Aren't you meditating?
There you go. Yeah. Single-minded focus, purpose. Walking, looking at a beautiful flower, looking at a flame, looking at a fire, watching the flames dance around. Your mind just goes into this space.
Appreciating nature, appreciating yourself, and appreciating I'm here. I'm just going to appreciate the fact that I'm just going to sit here and breathe for a second and just say, oh, thank you, I'm here. I'm here.
I love that. That's wonderful, wonderful advice for everybody, because that meditation gets such a really, it gets put in this little box like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I can't. You know, I had somebody close to me say that I can't quiet my mind. I can't meditate. I can't quiet my mind. And I'm like, well, maybe the fact that you're saying I can't is one of the barriers to actually being able to do it. Your inner conversation is actually reinforcing that you cannot do it. And you got to change that language, that belief system about what you can, and then everything else will open up for you. You know, it's that. It never ceases to amaze me how people just talk themselves into not being able to do something. And they make that choice and they follow it and they run with it. We definitely are going to have you back. Hopefully come back in a month. I love this. And I'm going to connect with you too about activating crystals and things.
Okay. Well, I have to tell you, I am just so honored to have been able to be a part of your show. I think you two are just exceptional healers. And I know people say healers. Yes, you are healing through your voices. You're healing through your loving vibration that just emanates out through the phone. It's lighting up my room. And I was asking, I said, I know that's not me, and it's not archangels. It's because Archangel Michael is here, and Mother Mary is here. And I said, it's their energy. And I said, this is what people are feeling when they are listening to your shows, that support. You know, you all have such a heart energy of support and saying to people, even if you're not saying it physically, your energy is saying you can do this. You're loved. You're not alone. That all those messages are literally coming through your vibration and reaching your audience. And, you know, there's no stopping, like we used to call them radio waves. I don't know what they call them now. But the waves that go out are energy.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's permeating. You know, there's no distance to it. The power of the heart vibration is limitless, absolutely limitless. And so you're reaching people, I think they're saying people you didn't even think you could reach. That vibration is reaching out to people, and it's encouraging them, and it's uplifting them. And please continue to do what you do. You are just sending love out, and it's so helpful to so many people. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. Especially coming from you, because this whole conversation, I feel like you have been such a beacon of light and love and that connection. And just reminding us that it's always available, and that whether we hear the whispers of spirit or we're connecting with our crystals or the flow of energy, you've just really, truly shown us how we can reconnect with that loving kindness that's in all facets of our lives. And I'm so grateful that I'm part of your soul group now. I guess we always were.
Yeah.
And Michael, same thing. You know, but again, you know, just before we close, is there any one final message of unconditional love or hope you want to leave with the audience? It's just been so delightful.
It has. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us. And I'm talking about the archangels and Mother Mary and other ascended masters who are coming through to express gratitude through their loving vibrations, and to let people know that you do make a difference. You matter. You are special. You are important, and you are loved. And I'll close with that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You all are so wonderful.